6 Stand Park. I call Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair, and it's a pleasure to rise and speak to Clause 6 of this bill. And this is an interesting clause because it not only is the clause that decided that this was going to be a recreational reserve rather than a historical reserve, which I know the Select Committee debated at some length by the looks of the report from the Select Committee, but it's also the clause that for the first time in legislation recognises the park as being named Parana Park and officially calls it Parana Park. Well, Tauhenari doesn't seem to understand the significance of this. And look, it's completely obvious that the National Party's got no interest in what happens in Hamilton whatsoever, because they've absolutely demonstrated tonight that the National Party just doesn't actually take any interest whatsoever in what happens in Hamilton. And I think that it just shows the lack of influence that the local members have got on their own caucus, that their own caucus members won't even get up and support them. And with regard to this bill going through the House, they're not prepared to get up and support them at all. But look, I'm very proud of the Labour caucus who have supported myself and Anaya Mahuta by getting up and showing at every occasion just how important Hamilton is to the Labour Party caucus, so I'm really appreciative of that and want to thank my colleagues. I probably should have warned them, though, a little bit earlier, that I am the administrator of a Facebook page called Don't Bag Hamilton, and a few of them were coming perilously close to being reported on that website, but they've actually pulled back from the brink now and become very, very supportive of this bill on behalf of the Hamilton people. But back to the issue about the name, because I think that this is really important, and this really came to my attention at the second reading of the bill, when my colleague Trevor Mallard pointed out that, in fact, changing the name officially now to Parana Park may not be as uncontroversial as it sounds, because while for a section of the community it has been known for many decades now as Parana Park, for other sections of the community that is not the case. And what Trevor Mallard had to say was that Putiki Tiki is the name that the Māori community know Parana Park as. And so here we are. Yes, and I know that's news to Hekia Parata, that she doesn't know that. So she hasn't heard of this before. But here we are, by legislation, changing the name officially to Parana Park, and yet we haven't actually gone through the normal process, as Trevor Mallard was pointing out earlier, that we do for the naming of every other piece of land. There's actually an Act of Parliament that governs how this is to be done through the Geographical Board. That's normally how it's done. And yet, for some reason that has yet to be explained to me, we are departing from that piece of legislation and instead changing the name of a piece of land, or officially recognising a name for a piece of land that hasn't gone through the Geographical Board process. And I think that we do need to, well, Tauhenari says whoop-de-doo, and I wonder what most Māori in New Zealand think of Tauhenari's response to saying, well, doesn't matter if there's a Māori name, let's just use our Pākehā institution just to change it to whatever we think it might be. You know, obviously Tauhenari thinks that there's no issue in actually being really careful about what we actually name important pieces of land with historical significance in this Parliament. Well, you know, maybe that doesn't matter to Tauhenari, but I can tell you, Mr Chair, I can actually inform the House that for most serious members of Parliament who actually take this job seriously, that they actually do recognise that there's a point to a process. And particularly when it comes to naming pieces of land that are important to us, that we must take that very seriously. We can't just decide on a whim to call it anything we like. You know, would Tauhenari be happy if we just decided to call this Smith Park? Would he be happy with that? Oh, well, you know, or maybe they have got plans. Maybe they have got plans for the 0.4 of a hectare that's gone missing in the calculations, because we still haven't discovered what's happened to that, by the way. But perhaps we could be calling this poo tiki tiki, because that's what Trevor Mallard said is his understanding of what it's been called.
Call Steve, the Honourable Steve Chadwick.